102.7 WMOM, Pentwater, Ludington, Wellston, and all of West Michigan. It's 8 o'clock. Good morning and welcome to Leading West Michigan, a show about success and featuring local leaders and people in local business. And now here's your host, Ryan Howe.
Good morning, everyone. We have a great show for you today. I'm Ryan Howe, founder of Summit Business Guides. I'm a strategic business coach who helps small and medium-sized businesses and their teams achieve more than they ever thought possible. If you're ready to make a change for the better, I can help. Learn more at summitbusinessguides.com. So this show is all about learning about our guests' leadership journey, and joining us today is Dr. Scott Karaptian, the Pentwater School's principal and superintendent, all wrapped up in one. So again, thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so unfortunately, it looks like you brought winter with you, or at least a brisk, rainy autumn day here. I wish I would have had these temperatures without the rain this last weekend. I was putting a fence up in my at my house, and
good thing you got it up last weekend.
I know,
this
yeah,
weekend.
it would have been blowing over. So, yeah. So, again, for you, let's, as we usually start. So, where are you from originally?
That's a good question. Moved around a little bit. I originally started. Our family grew up down in the Downriver area, Melvindale area, where we lived through my 9th grade year, and our family, my mother and father, at that time, this is in the mid to late 70s, that we decided to, they decided to move us out of that area. The times were kind of tumultuous, in the Downriver Detroit area, and so they decided to pull us out of the Melvindale area, and I didn't realize it at the time, and I don't know if my siblings realized it at the time, how much that our mom and dad sacrificed to provide for us and make sure that we had better opportunities and safer opportunities, and moved us to Jonesville. So moved from Downriver Detroit to a 7-acre farm. So
yeah, that's a bit of a transition. So, it's interesting you say that now, and that's one thing where I talk to people, basically young folks, about a lot, is that you don't realize, adults are figuring out as they're going as parents. They're doing the best they can, and they probably tried to give you some heads up this was happening, but you didn't want to hear anything, I'm assuming, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I was just finished my 9th grade year, so I think it was harder for my oldest brother, who was in his senior year, so that was a lot more difficult transition for him. And
oh, man.
Spent his entire life in that area, and to give up friends and routines and everything that he has established there. So he tried to stay in that area for a little bit on his own, staying with relatives, and that didn't work out so well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't understand it at the time, and the more and more I have to reflect on it, and I still reflect on it quite a bit, on how much they sacrificed to make sure that we had what we needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's that thing. So I doubt, again, if there's any young folks listening here right now, give your parents a little bit of a break if they're, because there's no manual for this thing, and parents are trying to do the best they can, and chances are it's probably the first time they were parents. Mm-hmm. So they're learning as they're going. So you made the transition to a 7-acre farm from basically moving out of the Detroit area.
Correct.
What was that transition like?
It was pretty interesting. So going from a place where houses, you could almost look out one window and look into your neighbor's window, to a lot of expansion, a lot of acreage, and instead of doing paper outs, we're baling hay. And my dad was an industrial electrician by trade, and my mom at the time, she, in the 70s in the Detroit area, was a UPS driver, so she was one of the first female UPS drivers back in the 70s, and so that was a pretty difficult time for her as well, being one of the first females. And at that time, gender equity was really not a real big issue, so had a tough time in putting her in some of the roughest neighborhoods in that area. And so I think getting us all out of that area was pretty good for everybody. And like I said, we might not realize it at the time, but
sure.
But at the time, going in the Melvindale area, being able to walk to all of our schools, one of the biggest transitions was a 9-mile from our school district, so an hour bus drive.
Oh yeah.
So riding a bus for the first time was another transition. But
and bus culture is a whole different world.
Absolutely. And then trying to make friends in the area in a new district. So we're in a rural area, and then we're coming from an urban area, so
Sure.
the reputation people think that we had coming from Detroit into a country area, thinking that we're tough, rough, and that was farthest from the truth. Because at the time I was probably 5'6", 5'7", and at the time maybe 112 pounds at the most. So I was not a very big guy at the time.
If you're just joining us, we're talking with Dr. Scott Karaptian here on Leading West Michigan. And again, I'm Ryan Howell. The show is all about learning about our guest leadership journey. And again, talking with Scott as far as this transition, because you're currently not that size. You're not 112. So I was going to ask what sports you played up until ninth grade. So what did you play once you got basically to your next school?
Wrestling was my sport of choice, even in the Detroit area, even into the Jonesville area, because it's not. You don't have to be the biggest. There's weight classes, so individual weight classes. So there was a place for me for people my size.
Oh, there you go.
And so I was able to, every year I grew a little bit, and so I'd go up to the next weight class. But it was. I thought it was one of the best sports because you really have nobody else to blame but yourself. If you don't condition, you don't prepare, and so your victory or defeat, it's all dependent on you and how well you do and how well you train.
The other thing with wrestling too that when I've talked to folks, it really develops grit. Like you have to be able to overcome, because there's times, again, I don't know all the language, so I'm going to mess this up. But
Sure.
Basically, where you are, you're at a disadvantage. And you could either just give up, or you've got to find a way to be able to get some sort of leverage to be able to then basically turn the tables on that. And when I watch wrestling, that's the thing I see. You can tell when they're like, nope, I'm not giving up at this point, and they'll try a different leverage piece. Was that your experience you see with wrestling?
Absolutely, and I was the one who had to fight not to lose quite a bit. So I was not the best wrestler. I was probably 500 at best. But I had my brother above me, Mike. He was the stud athlete, and he went to state his senior year. And so, but yeah, there was many times where I'm fighting off my back not to get pinned, and that's the grit part, and not to give up, and to endure and to not give up. And I think a lot of that's helped to get where I am at today. Part of that, and my military time too, is
Sure.
just to not give up and.
Yeah, you don't have an option in the
through it.
military. So, and we'll spend some more time on that too. As you know, I'm a veteran myself. So, what about classes in school? Were there any particular classes you liked better than others? Was there any teachers you remember?
Absolutely, and I struggled as a student, as a high school student. I was not an A student by any stretch of the imagination. I was maybe BC at best, and occasional D's and F's in there as well. But the class that I liked best was woodworking, woodshop.
Oh, okay.
And shout out to rest his soul, John Rudin, Papa Rudin. He's one who got me interested in the trade, and that's where I got my interest to become a woodshop teacher. So I ended up going to Western Michigan University to become a shop teacher, and that's what I did.
So we're continuing our conversation with Scott Karaptian right now. He's the superintendent and principal down at Pentwater Schools. And again, that transition over into Western as far as woodworking there. So how was that transition? Because you've gone from basically Detroit, and then you make your way over into basically the rural area.
Right.
Now you're at Western.
Right.
What was that like?
That was an interesting transition as well. So again, I'm first in my family to go to college, and so spending my last 3-4 years in a rural area and then going to the city area, and you don't have the structure, you don't have the support, you don't have the guidance, so you're on your own to make your own decisions. So it's sink or swim, right? So getting that time organization and that discipline, and I did struggle for the first couple of years, like most of us do, and you get caught up and having a good time and meeting people, and then not always putting your education first. And it took me a while to figure that out, but we got there.
So, and again, you majored in woodworking.
Yes.
And your minor was industrial arts? Is that
General
correct?
industrial arts.
Okay, so that is so you went there with that intention for the woodworking.
Yes.
And you followed through that. You're the first, or you're like of maybe 10% of the folks that I run into that they go to college for this, they're determined, and they actually go to college and get the degree that they had in mind. So how did you make the transition then from woodworking to education? How did you make that leap?
Well, it was all part of the process. So it was education. So shop, wood shop, technical education. So, and again, my teacher at the time was one who showed me the interest, and we were, well, unfortunately, my era, that my graduating class was one of the last programs at Western Michigan University for that program. It's kind of a dying breed now, shops in the local district. We do have our career tech centers, but I just enjoyed creating something from nothing. You take a chunk of wood and making something, whether it's turning it on the lathe or building it and showing a complete project at the end. And always my worst critic and finding all the flaws, but everything I made I usually gave away because I didn't want to see my flaws, so I actually gave them away.
That sounds about right. Yeah, it's funny. My mom still has, I think, 3 of my woodworking pieces up at the house there, and I realized one of them was mine. Like the other, I'm like, oh, that's right. I remember making that with Mr. Abig back in shop. It was great. So again, so you wanted to go and basically be shop teacher. So did you go directly after graduation when you got your bachelor's into education, or how did that work?
That was a tough process. At the time I graduated, there were not a whole lot of industrial arts positions available at the time. At that time, the shop teachers stayed till they died almost, right? Mm-hmm. They stayed forever. So it took me 5-6 years before I was able to find my first job. So there were many different jobs in between. From bartending to mowing to roofing houses to doing whatever you could to make ends meet and follow. One of the other things was substitute teaching too. I sub-taught a lot in the Kalamazoo public area. And then I finally landed my first teaching job at Three Rivers High School, and that was a half-time job, part-time job. So I did that for 1 year, and then finally the full-time position happened in Parchment.
Okay, and that's something for everybody out there. And again, that's a credit to, I think, just your determination. I think earlier you said stubborn, but we'll go determination on this. Is that you knew what you wanted to do, you know where you wanted to be at, and just because it wasn't that it was no's at that moment didn't mean it wasn't going to be yes later. So you kept her in that little universe by substitute teaching and being around, make sure folks knew that you were available for those things, and then when the opportunity presented itself, you took advantage of it. So that's great. So again, we're continuing our conversation with Scott Karaptian here, and again, the Kalamazoo area. You said Three Rivers is where you landed at?
I started Three Rivers was as my first job, and I was there for 1 year. And then 93, 94, I was offered a full-time teaching spot at Parchment in the Kalamazoo area, where I taught woodshop, drafting, tech ed for 7 years. And I also coached wrestling and varsity softball. I
had a feeling, coach. I'm not the stereotype, but you look like a wrestling coach.
Appreciate that.
That's what you look like.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah. No. It's like I'm seeing them like going, this guy. I could see this guy getting down on the mat and saying, basically motivating the folks to keep moving there. So
that was one of my wife's frustrations because the older I got, it was harder to get down on the mat, and the kids. They'd hurt you sometimes, but you couldn't let them know it. And then I'd go home and complain to my wife, and it's like, well, stop getting on the mat. And that's not how you coach wrestling. So you got to get down there and roll with them. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When did you start on your master's degree?
So when I finally got my first teaching job, my teaching certificate actually expired. So I had to go back to school to get it renewed. Okay. And so part of that process, said, well, you have to go back to school. Might as well start your master's degree in ed leadership. I never imagined and never wanted and never thought about getting into an administrative career. It was furthest from my mind. I was happy being a shop teacher and a wrestling coach. And so that's how I ended up getting into the master's program.
Okay. Just had to do it.
Right.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. So, and then I do see this here's education specialist degree that you got from Grand Valley State University. What's
Correct.
that? What is that?
It's just another step in the education leadership process. So it's a lot of people it's in between the master's and the PhD. So, at Grand Valley, it was just a step. And then when they introduced the doctorate program, it was a cooperative program between Grand Valley and Eastern Michigan University. And so a lot of people in my cohort said, we're thinking of going to the PhD process. And So, okay, let's just go. So we all, a group of us, went through the at specialist program, and we carried each other and helped each other through the PhD process as well. And all of our classes were in the Grand Valley, Grand Rapids campus, so we didn't have to go to Eastern Michigan except for our registration and our dissertation defense. So, but yeah, it's all part of the educational leadership journey.
Yeah, leave it. I mean, this is just more on my end. Leave it to the academics to add extra steps just because. So, yeah, no, this would be helpful. Trust us. Just do this one more thing before you get to the doctorate stuff. So, and that's, again, and you went for your doctorate just because it was the next step more than anything, or what was the reason behind going with that besides the cool hat and then that you get to wear at at graduation?
I don't even know if I'd say it was a cool hat. So that's a good question, and I still ask myself why in the world would you put yourself through that? And I think this one, and I tell my students a lot this too. As a younger kid in the Detroit area and then moving into another area, I was a small kid. I was not a good looking kid, and I was one of the nerdy looking kids growing up. I had the big hair and the big glasses, and I'm a $1.15 soaking wet. So I got teased and picked and bullied quite a bit as a youth as well. And even in my college days, I had a lot of people say, you're stupid, you're dumb, you're not going to amount to anything. And so I think that's puts more of that determination aspect in my mind, and so I wanted to prove to myself that I wasn't those things. So it was purely for me.
Okay, and and for me, I think that's the purest way about that too. Is the folks that I've known that have gotten their doctorate, not for work, but they've done it just for themselves. I had quite a few folks in the military I knew that they went and got their doctorate in supply chain management, and it was purely for them because they wanted that sense of accomplishment. And, they truly valued what they were getting in their education, want to be able to show that in one way, shape, or form. So, plus, every time that we had our Community College of the Air Force graduations, I had one Chief Parker. He would show up, and he had his doctorate in supply chain. And he would show up in the full regalia and everything, and everyone would be looking at him like, what in the world? I'm like, nah, he's got his doctorate. Like, that's actually pretty cool. You need to understand that's a thing. And for a lot of these young folks, it's their first experience in college is just this associates. We made a big deal out of it, though, because it was worthwhile.
And, in the education field, I think most of us could say that we're all lifelong learners, right? Mm-hmm. So I loved the learning process. I didn't necessarily like all the tests and all that, but I liked meeting new people and learning truly from others' experiences and listening to, what made people successful, the challenges they had, and learning from them that way, I think was more valuable than the paper, pencil, and book aspect.
Yeah, for sure. And the other side, too, is in your current role, which, again, I'm just going to jump ahead a bit here and we'll make our way back. But
sure.
That to be able to tell these stories to your students that this was you in high school, this is what you had to deal with here, but understanding that if you stick with it and you have adversity, you develop that grit, you can get through these things. It's not impossible. And on the other side of it is a lot of goodness that you get from it. So that's great. Yeah, and your dissertation was in school safety, which I was looking at earlier. So I want to check that out sometime.
Sure,
by the way,
absolutely.
too.
I'd send it to you.
Yeah, I love
reading.
Okay, and that's the one thing for the listeners you're going to learn. I like to read dissertations. It's one of those things I've just picked up over the years. I'm always fascinated because of the time and energy goes into it, plus the thoughts and the caring you have there.
Sure.
So we got about 2 minutes to our next break here. So what was your next steps after Kalamazoo, or what did that look like?
So
got all these degrees now and you're in wood shop. So what's this look like?
Again, working on my master's degree, nearing the end of my master's degree, I thought, okay, I'm just going to throw some applications out there just to see what bites as far as assistant principalships. The school year had already started in Parchment. Again, I was happy where I was at, and I just thought, well, we'll just see what happens, just for experience and just for practice. And I threw out about 5 applications, and I had one offer for an interview, and that was at Coloma High School. And so I...
Where's Coloma at?
Coloma is 50 miles due west of Kalamazoo.
Okay.
Right by the Benton Harbor area.
Gotcha.
And so it was 50 miles directly from my driveway to there. So I lived a half mile from Parchment High School, so the commute was pretty convenient. But so anyways, going back to Coloma, went for the interview there again. I was happy where I was at. I interviewed for the position, and on the way home from the interview, I received a phone call saying, we'd like to offer you the job. And like, now what? Because that was something I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was happy where I was at, and so I had to make a decision, talk to my wife, like, now what do we do? So there's an open door, and we took it, and that's kind of, from there, the rest is kind of history.
No, and that's great to hear. So as we head to this next break, want to follow up with that and the importance of understanding when a door opens what you're supposed to do with it, and not look past it, because it's you're in your comfort zone. You got to understand the other side of that door is usually not comfortable. So again, you're listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So let's take our first break, and when we get back, let's hear about some of the challenges you had making that transition from woodshop, and now you're in your first bit of administration.
Sure.
Awesome.
Sign up now at Spartan West to join our fall leagues. Women's leagues will be on Tuesdays and Thursdays, men's on Wednesdays, and mixed teams will be on Mondays and Saturdays. Or try something out of the ordinary with our new Cosmic Bowling League, which will be a 3-person no-tap team on Fridays at 9 p.m. And don't forget to stop into Beamer's, home of the best fish fry in Mason County, every Friday night. Spartan West, where the good times roll.
Did you know there are risks when storing scrap metal? Scrap metal can cause theft on your property, creates a habitat for pests. You could lose money by gambling the value of its worth, and of course you could run out of room from storing the metal. Oceana Auto will take scrap steel off your hands. Oceana Auto is the largest scrap steel and auto buyer in the area. From 20 pounds to 200,000 pounds, Oceana Auto is ready. Scale in, unload, scale out, and we pay you. Scrap prices change daily, and Oceana Auto works to give you the best deal. Call Oceana Auto today at 231-873-3500. That's 231-873-3500. Oceana Auto. Get hooked on us.
Mom's Fridge Magnets are community calendar announcements presented by Watson Motors, West Michigan, CMH, McGee Insurance, and Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. Another fridge magnet comes your way next.
Dan Bacon with McGee Insurance. All of our policies are a little different because every family is a little different. Your home or auto, life insurance, or even your own business, these set you apart from the rest. So let's build a policy that's just as unique as you. Call us today, 231-845-5000. McGee, the guarantee you can count on.
Hi, this is Lori at West Michigan CMH. We are committed to partnering with and providing high-quality, individualized care for people dealing with mental health issues, intellectual and developmental disabilities, and substance abuse disorders. If you are ready to begin your journey towards wellness and recovery, call us today at 1-800-992-2061. That's 1-800-992-2061.
At the Pentwater Municipal Marina, Saturday, October 14th at 10 a.m., there will be the Stout Stumble 5K Run and Walk. Weave through the beautiful village of Pentwater with a beer waiting for you at the finish line. If your group or nonprofit organization has an announcement that you would like others to know about, reach out to us and we'll add it for free to the Fridge Magnet program, thanks to Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, West Michigan, CMH, and Watson Motors.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, so welcome back. I'm Ryan Howe from Summit Business Guides, and we're continuing our conversation with Dr. Scott Karaptian, the principal and superintendent of Pentwater Schools. Before the break, we were going to talk about Coloma. I want to talk about there, and then I also want to talk about your military career as well, too. I think that's going to be important. So you talked to the missus, which is very important. You got to clear things with the wife.
Absolutely. And so we decided the door was open. Let's take it. It was open for a reason. So I was doing that 50-mile one-way commute, and so 100 miles a day. We still lived in the Kalamazoo area, and it was a great experience. And the principal that I worked under, Mr. Hal Wheeler, super individual, learned a lot from him. He was actually a semi-pro basketball player, played for the Washington Generals, and got to play against the Harlem Globetrotters and things of that nature. So he was truly an inspiration and taught me a lot about the administrative area as an assistant principal and what to expect and how to do things. And again, Coloma, coming from Detroit to Jonesville, then to the Kalamazoo area, I think it prepared me for a lot of the things that was going to come ahead of in my life. So we had some students from Benton Harbor, and we had some students from the rural area, and so seeing students from a different perspective as an assistant principal than from a classroom teacher, you saw kids who are supposed to be rough, tough, break down and cry in your office when they're in trouble and they don't want to get in trouble and they're trying to do their best, and it really opened your eyes to we don't think we really know about students' lives until we really have time to sit and listen to their stories. So I think in today's society too, we forget that we all have stories that not everybody knows.
Absolutely. Again, we're continuing our conversation with Scott Karaptian, the superintendent down in Pentwater. And, to your point there, Mason County Eastern, we're actually invited the sheriff to come down and give us a year review of all the calls that have gone on in the district, so we can have just kind of an overview summary of some of the things that our students might be having to deal with there. So I completely get that. It's really important because there's a facade that shows up, and you see afterwards, like, man, they probably only get 2 meals a day, or they have this going on to be able to deal with that. So what was it like as far as the transition to basically being, moving from worker to now in the administration? Whereas then those are the folks, like, they don't understand how tough it is here. They, as I like to say, it's they.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it becomes, you transition from a teacher to the dark side.
Yep.
So, you're no longer one of them. You are now one of they, right?
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
And as an assistant principal, it wasn't quite as bad because you're not the one making all the decisions. You're second in charge. You're not in charge. So, my primary role at the time, you're dealing with discipline. You're doing, athletics. Your role is different than being a principal. So, there's definitely a lot to learn, and I've definitely dropped the ball on many issues. And you make your mistakes, you own them, and you move forward. And I think that's part of the learning process too. And don't try to fake it till you make it, right? So you be humble, you be honest, and I think that is where you get a lot of respect from the people you work with. Is you own it.
Yeah, that's always going to fail fast and fail in public, and you'd be surprised the number of folks would be like, hey, we got you. We'll help you out through that. So I do want to kind of pivot a little bit, because while all this is going on, there's a military career that you have on the background as well, too, adding to a whole different level and layers of schooling, work, all these things. So which service did you serve in?
I was with the Army National Guard, Michigan Army National Guard, and I did that for 21 years.
So, and what was your MOS?
Well, it changed a lot of times, but communication was the background. So I started out as a lineman, cable dog, as we like to be referred to, and so we were the ones climbing poles.
I was you're a pole climber, yeah,
absolutely, and then running ground lines, and so we were pretty much the Michigan Belle of the military.
Yeah, that's we had that training at Shepherd Air Force Base, was for the Air Force version of that, where the pole climbers were at. And I was always like, it's 110 degrees out here. Good luck up there, bud. Like,
absolutely.
That's crazy. So with that, did you have any, like, how about deployments? Because that was a huge part of, that was a shift that happened after 9/11, that now the Guard, and, the Guard was always looked at as the Guard. And then all of a sudden after 9/11, force integration occurred, and you were having to augment quite a bit more than even the active duty folks. Did you have any deployments?
Absolutely. In 2003, we got deployed to Iraq as supporting forces for Operation Iraqi Freedom. And if I could go back just a little bit,
absolutely.
how the military came about.
Yeah, for sure, please.
I was a sophomore at Western Michigan University, and again, I was first-gen college students, and we struggled financially a little bit in trying to find ways to fund my schooling. And my mother ended up sending me in a card a news ad, join the National Guard, earn money for college. So I took that ad and I went and interviewed, and I ended up enlisting, and I called my mom and said, I did it. She said, you did what? I said, I enlisted. She said, you did? I'm a baby boy now. So Mom started crying and everything. You did what? I was just joking. So Well, 21 years later, the joke is no longer a joke. So
I think that's how on the movie Stripes, how Bill Murray and Harold Ramis got actually too. I think they just saw an ad, said, "Hey, let's go do that."
Let's go do that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it helped me finish my college, my undergraduate degree. So, anyways, back to the deployment. I was the assistant principal at Parchment High School at the time when we deployed. So it was a 14-month deployment. So right around April of 2003, we did our mobilization at Fort Riley, Kansas, where we prepped and then headed to Kuwait and then to Iraq for until May of 2004.
Yeah. So again, we are continuing our conversation with Dr. Scott Karaptian, principal and superintendent at Pentwater Public Schools. So yeah, the deployment piece there, and you were staff sergeant, is that correct?
I retired as staff sergeant.
Yeah,
Correct, yes.
And it's all the weapons that you were getting. By the way, when I was in Pisa, Italy at the time, and my wife will remember this probably clearly because I was gone so much, but I was gone at work. We were doing basically 14 to 16 hour days, outloading munitions that were all going to Iraq for Iraqi freedom in support of that during that time frame. So I think that was almost 2.5 months of 18-hour shifts to get all that stuff out, to load up boats to ship them over. So
and when we deployed, we were pretty much right after the shock and awe. So we had pretty much our vehicles with the vinyl doors and our up armor on the floors were sandbag, and so we slept in tents pretty much for the majority of my deployment. So,
and how did your so that when you come back from that, how did the as far as with the school, the area support, what was that like when you came back?
Absolutely amazing. Our community was outstanding. My school community, my superintendent at the time, Ron Fuller, made sure, and the community made sure that my family was well taken care of and people watching out for my wife and my kids. We had 2 small children at the time. My daughters, Ariana, who was in 2nd grade, and Hannah, who was 8th grade, transitioning to 9th grade in high school. So, and a funny story about that is at one point in time, my wife actually made me ground my daughter from Iraq. So, so that's a funny story that we still like to tell. And so,
oh, that's okay. That's a little bit of a twist on. Wait till your father gets home.
Right.
Yeah, it's like wait till father calls on the terrible phone line to be able to get in touch with you.
Absolutely. But when we returned home, the reception we got, the parade, and the streets lined, and such a warm welcome. Where, as we know, in the Vietnam era, people didn't have that welcome. So it was very heartwarming to see the welcome and the appreciation that we had.
Yeah, and that's we've got about a minute and a half till our next break here, and just to opine on that a bit, is that's been the biggest change that I've seen as far as just the understanding of the people who are who are serving the country like this and doing their part. Because I look back and I see the movies. Obviously, I didn't live through it. I was born in late 70s, so I've seen all that. But when the Gulf War happened, that's when I was like, I was really amazed at the way that the communities as a whole. I said, you know what? We're going to go do this thing. We're not going to let what happened in the 70s happen again. We're not going to hold basically the enlisted and the members accountable for this. We're going to go after our elected representatives. If they have any issues, instead of taking it out on the soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen.
Right.
So, and that's I've seen that across the board. And this community is no different. We've got a huge veteran population here.
Absolutely.
So it's great to hear. So again, thank you for your service. Definitely appreciate it.
And thank you for yours.
Yeah, thanks for the tax dollars for everybody. So we're heading to our next break here. We get back. Let's talk about the next level as far as your schooling. So again, you've been listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So let's take this next break, and when we get back, let's talk a little bit more about how as you move towards the superintendent.
Absolutely.
Happy fall from our hive to your home. Did you know that Sister Bees has some new, fabulous fall finds?
Today we have been busy in the Sister Bees boutique, hand pouring our Harvest Beeswax candles. Handcrafted with a scent of clove and orange, it's the perfect way for your house to naturally smell like autumn. And fun fact, beeswax burns clean.
And our cinnamon creamed honey is deliciously paired with a Michigan crisp apple for a naturally sweet treat. Come on on in and have a free taste.
We have new fall decor for your home or as a gift. Cozy blankets or even plum mead to enjoy around the campfire. So many new things to taste and see. Come check it out for yourself.
This is one of our favorite times of the year. We're located on James Street, downtown Leadington.
We're open Monday through Friday from noon until 5 and Saturday from 10 until 5. Happy fall!
Happy fall, ladies. We can't wait to announce the next Beauty Arise event. It's happening at Leadington Area Center for the Arts this Tuesday, October 10th. If you have never been to a Beauty Arise event, we're personally inviting you now. It's an evening to encourage, uplift, celebrate, and just be together as women in our community. So grab your sister, your neighbor, invite everyone you know, and join us for this free event. The theme is Fall into Friendship with 3 local speakers. Cluck Bucket will be serving free, delicious hot pretzels. Doors open at 6:30. We can't wait to see you.
Are you in the market for a new vehicle? Hi, this is Carissa with Preferred Credit Union. Get pre-approved for your next auto loan and shop with confidence. We offer low monthly payments and 0 payments for 90 days. Visit preferredcu.org or call 231-843-3464. That's 231-843-3464 for more information. Federally insured by the NCUA and Equal Opportunity Lender.
Trusted, known, preferred credit union.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, so welcome back. And then before the break, we were talking again about Scott Karaptian, Dr. Scott Karaptian, the superintendent principal for Pentwater Schools, his military time, and also where he got his first start in administration or the dark side, with school. So how long did that last, and what was your next steps after, as far as that assistant principalship?
So actually, during my deployment, again, we were a communications company, so we provided all the tactical telephone and internet in service, so in theater. So I was able to call home every night, so that's able to talk to my wife every day and talk to my daughters on the weekends, but also able to keep in contact with my superintendent over the time while we're over there. So he had informed me shortly before we decided to come home that I was going to become the new principal at Parchment High School upon my return.
Okay.
The principal at that time was retiring, so he held everything till I could get back, and then that's started the principal journey.
Yeah.
And I remained in that role for about 16 years.
16 years for principal there. So again, we're continuing our conversation with Dr. Scott Karaptian here. So 16 years of principal, that's an awful long time to basically hone your craft.
Yes.
And so during that time, what were some of the successes that you had that you can remember?
I think again, I'm going to go back to who I feel I am as a person is we are here to serve and to make a difference. And so, my role as an educator, I believe, is to make a difference in the lives of our students, one student at a time. So being able to help students one at a time, and if I can make the change and difference in one student, I consider that a success.
Absolutely.
So after the course of the years, I hope that I've been able to have the impact on students and provide them safe learning environments and being able to help with curriculum and getting the right people in the right place to make sure that our students get what they need.
Do you have any specific memories you can say without necessarily calling anybody out, or that you can think back to? Because during my teaching days, I've got like 5 or 6 times where it resonates with me. Like, this is where it was something outside of teaching. You had an opportunity, you said something or did something that that's going to stick with that person or help them become the person they're going to be.
There are a lot of times in the education field where, it's a struggle, it's tough. It's getting tougher and tougher every day, and there's many times where I've asked myself, why in the world am I doing this? And then just out of the blue, you'll get one of the former students who'd come back and reach out to you there on Facebook or call you or come over and visit and say, I just wanted to say thank you. You were there for me. You helped me through a difficult time. You may not have known it, and I didn't say thank you while I was there. And so I just appreciate all that you've done. So those are the moments that's like, okay, you're doing something right.
Yeah, it's always fun. I'm sure you keep an eye on tabs also on a lot of your former students, and you're seeing them succeed in life. And those are the type of things where, current currently at Mason County Eastern, I'm on the board there, and Paul Shelps,
Absolutely.
he's the superintendent there. He was my science teacher, and he's mentioned offhand just to see the transition that for me to be able to, we'll just say I was an okay student and my behavior was okay in school to where I'm at now, to where I'm on the board working with him.
Right.
Same thing with Ed Miller there. So
Right.
and I know for me, again, the students that I've had, I've kept tabs on quite a few of them, kept in contact with them. And I think I'm going to guess you're probably their biggest cheerleader, would be my guess.
Absolutely. And again, it was easier when I was in the same town. So I was in the Parchment area for over 20 years. And then so that was one of the toughest things coming here, not, breaking some of those ties and being able to try to keep in contact with kids via, Facebook, whatever way you can. But now we focus on the kids in this community and to help them one student at a time.
So how did the transition to Pentwater, how'd that job come about? And,
So again, I think this is going to be the determination and don't give up aspect. So when finished up my ed specialist degree and said, okay, both of our kids are going to be out of high school, so we want to go to the next step and look for superintendency. So again, started throwing out some applications. I had several interviews. I was a finalist in several places and never got that final nod to say, yeah, come here. And so had the opportunity to come here and interview in Pentwater, and I thought the interview went pretty well. And on the drive back home to the Kalamazoo area, and then my wife and I talked about it and talked about the possibilities. And as corny as this sounds, at that night, my hot tub is my sanctuary. So I'm in there in my hot tub thinking and reflecting and praying and saying, give me the strength to, if this isn't the place, let me know where it is. And during that opportunity and during those moments of reflection, the telephone rings, and it's the board president, Linda Van Gilsen, saying, we're not going to do a second round of interviews. We'd like to offer you the position.
That's fantastic.
So that just totally, blessings and doors were open and things are meant for a reason.
All right. So that's great to hear. So dog chasing the car. So you finally caught the car.
Right.
And then what? And then at some point it had to all of a sudden oh wait, now this is a thing.
Right.
What was that like?
What is it still like? So coming from being just the principal in a larger school district, we were at the 1,700 student district, and Parchment was about 550, 600 students, coming to a district where you're now the K-12 principal and the superintendent and so several hats, and going from 600 students to 230 students. And you have elementary kids in the mix, where I've never really had much experience with the elementary end until coming here. And so, yeah, I was a little afraid of these little ones. Here I am, 230, 240, afraid of the kindergartners, but kindergarten cop sort of thing, right? And so, but it's truly a blessing and they're a joy. So it was a big transition, and still transitioning every day and trying to figure it out.
So how was the first year? What was that like? You're saying just the principal to now you're in charge as the superintendent. What was that first year like?
It's pretty amazing, and I have to first give a shout out and thanks to the Pentwater community for allowing me to lead their ship, and it's just truly is a remarkable place that I've never experienced before. It's kind of a storybook type place where the community is super supportive. You got a great staff. The kids are great kids, and security issues were not things that I've experienced in some of my larger districts. So still a lot to learning how to to do the finance parts and the Title I and the homeless part, and managing curriculum and discipline and everything else. And you figure it out, and you don't have to have all the answers, and you don't have to have all the ideas. You just have to trust your people. And I had really good, and still have really good people in place to help with the process.
Can you talk about the homeless part there? Because that's something that all the schools are struggling with right now, and some of our listeners may not be aware.
Sure. So we're fortunate that we don't have a large homeless population, but we still do. People here at Pentwater, and they think a big wealthy school district, and we're not a big wealthy school district. Pentwater itself, there's some money within the village proper, but the majority of our families and students do not live within the Pentwater Village proper, just the affordability and affordable housing. And so we have about 52% free and reduced lunch population. And we at times do have students who are homeless. They're in transitional places, bouncing from family to family, or doubling up with relatives to where they, just trying to make ends meet. And that's where I'd like to give a big shout out to the Lakeshore United Way and Barbara Saunders Sims, our United Way rep. Whenever I have families in needs, I know I can reach out to her and she'll help. Just families, remember that 211 is a good resource for you to make a connection and get the resources that you need.
Yeah, and that's again, I'm basically just on behalf of everybody, again, just the work that you do, especially again with the homeless population and folks that are in need. It's a challenge that, for learning as a whole is, so we're heading into our final break here. And then when we get back, I do want to talk, hey, what's going on? What's happening with Pentwater schools, things of that nature. And I'm excited to learn more. Again, Pentwater and Hart were like two of my adopted towns where I drive to, and I had friends down there that I would go see. So I'm always interested to hear what's happening in those areas. So again, you've been listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and the WMOM YouTube channel. So again, we're heading to the final break, and when we get back, I really want to hear what's going on in Pentwater. I'm excited to hear about it.
Thank you.
Visit downtown Ludington retailers this weekend, October 6th through the 8th, and merchants will donate a portion of all sales in an effort to raise $80,000 for the addition of a K-9 unit for the Ludington Police Department. Some items to be purchased include the K-9, some training aids, a new squad car outfitted with a kennel. Other expenses covered will be veterinary care, food, and an outdoor kennel. Participating businesses include Cluck Bucket, Red Rooster, Sister Bees, Spindrift Cycle Sports, Trailhead Bike Shop, Victoria's Jewelry, as well as The Hangar, all giving 10% of their sales for the effort. In addition, Moda, Elevated Fashion by My Sister's Closet, More Cottage Works, and also Wave Nutrition will be contributing 15%. Avenues End Mini Mall will be raffling gift baskets for the cause. Come support Ludington area businesses and help raise money for a new K-9 unit for the Ludington Police Department. October 6th through the 8th. That's this weekend in downtown Ludington.
Do you enjoy refunds on ATM withdrawal fees, building savings automatically, no monthly maintenance fees, and free digital banking? Well, Safe Harbor Credit Union offers a free checking account that pays 5% APY on balances up to $15,000. You can open your account within minutes. Innovative checking built on traditional values. Free Kasasa Cash rewards you for supporting your community. Some key features include high dividends, refunds on ATM withdrawal fees, no monthly maintenance fees, and no minimum balance requirements. To learn more, check out our website at safeharborcu.org or come visit us at our office at 5511 US 10. Member, owner, neighbor. Here, you're one and the same. Safe Harbor Credit Union.
Looking to carve your own career path? Applebee's will help you develop it. With scholarship opportunities, flexible scheduling, stability of a career for a well-known national company, and of course, working with people you can consider family. Applebee's is currently hiring for several positions, including kitchen staff, servers, host, bartender, and car side. Go to the Applebee's website and click on the Careers tab to inquire for any of these positions.
Hi, this is Ryan from Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. If you're thinking about changing your tires for the winter or getting a new set of all-season tires, Lakeshore Automotive and Tire has a wide selection of brand names to choose from. Lakeshore Automotive and Tire has an amazing service department as well, offering a wide selection of services such as AC, heating, engine repair, tires, alignments, tune-ups, brakes, and transmission services. Lakeshore Automotive and Tire is located in downtown Ludington at 702 South James Street. Give us a call or stop by today. Our number is 231-425-3526. Once again, that's 231-425-3526. Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. We get you on the road and running.
Looking for events and happenings in the area? Look no further than Mom's Fridge Magnets. Presented by Watson Motors, West Michigan CMH, McGee Insurance, and Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. Another fridge magnet comes your way next.
Did you know that West Michigan CMH has a veteran peer navigator to serve those who served our country? This is a free service and is available to any veteran in Lake, Mason, and Oceana County. We can provide peer mentoring, emotional support, help in obtaining military documentation, connect to medical, mental health, or substance use programs, and so much more. Call us today at 1-800-992-2061. That's 1-800-992-2061.
Our service team at Watson Motors in Ludington and Manistee will treat your vehicle like one of our own. We're by your side whenever you need car service or repair work done. Watson Motors in Ludington is located at the corner of Dennis and US 10 and in Manistee on Parkdale Road across from Big Al's Pizza.
Visit Pentwater on Saturday, October 14th for Oktoberfest. Events include the Classic Car and Hot Rod Show, Stout Stumble 5K Walk and Run, Cove Home Tour, live music, seasonal beverages, yard games, and more. In addition to the fantastic activities, stroll through the town for sales and specials at the unique shops and restaurants. If your group or nonprofit organization has an announcement that you would like others to know about, reach out to us and we'll add it for free to the Fridge Magnet program thanks to Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, West Michigan, CMH, and Watson Motors.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, so welcome back, and we're on to the final segment with Dr. Scott Karaptian, the principal and superintendent of Pentwater Schools. So, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your team and kind of what you got going on there at Pentwater.
So, yeah, I'm very, very blessed and humbled and fortunate to be a part of this community, part of this school. As I said before, it is truly an amazing place. We have a wonderful, dedicated staff who is willing to do whatever it takes, whatever is necessary to help our students to succeed. So, some of the big things going on, I think you might have seen in the news recently that we received 2 electric vehicles as part of the Environmental Protection Agency grant. We received a federal grant for the sum of $790,000 for 2 electric buses and 2 charging stations at no cost to the district, no cost to local taxpayers. Obviously, federal tax dollars might receive some of that, but we're very fortunate. And it's not a large school district, urban, rural, or urban, suburban school district. It is a small district such as Pentwater to lead the charge in bringing clean energy to our area, other than Mason County Central with their solar farms. So, we appreciate those efforts as well. Some of the things that we continue to try to do is to focus on the areas of reading and math and bring reading intervention and math interventions. And I think one of the things that, I bring to our table is my large focus is safety and security, right? So how are our students able to focus on education if they don't feel safe, secure, they don't have the resources they need, coming to school hungry? And so we're just privileged and proud to be able to give our students the supports they need with the social emotional learning. We have Kara Kuipers, who's an outstanding counselor working with our K6, K7 students, and then through another grant through the Michigan Department of Human Health and Service, we were able to bring an E3 school social worker to our district, and it is working with students 5 days a week. She's here, not our employee, they're a state employee, and we also, the beauty of that is they're able to work with families too, so they can help our students and our families. And we have to be honest with ourselves that COVID really did a number on our communities and our society, and social and emotional wellness is something that plagues our students in our society. So anxiety issues and societal issues and just being able to focus on school is one of the hardest things that our kids have to deal with right now. And so try to provide the environment and to free them of some of those burdens so they can focus on the academics. And I think our staff's doing a great job in that area.
Yeah, that the COVID, and we had talked a little bit about this either before the show started, about just how much COVID made people reassess things. Again, for adults, there's a lot of conversations that took place, a lot of deep thinking because people had time. Hey, is this how I want to spend my time and energy, either in this job or doing these things? But on the flip side of that, you had, the kids. They didn't know what normal was supposed to look like, and this is what they had to deal with. And frankly, we as adults were not prepared to deal. Didn't have any tools to deal with this for the most part. like the kids, they definitely didn't. And so the work that you're doing, everyone understands they're behind, but I don't think people really realize the emotional scars that are left as far as the interpersonal relationships, and those ability for social cues are pretty much gone.
Absolutely.
And the work that teachers, your staff are having to do on a consistent basis to get these young men and women back to, hey, this is what proper conduct is. And yes, sometimes you're going to be overstressed, but it doesn't mean you need to fold like a lawn chair.
Right.
Those things.
Well, the days are gone where, when we grew up, people just say, just suck it up, or rub some dirt on it and keep moving on. We didn't have the things that the kids have now, the social media, the everything else that, if you're, made fun of or you fell, those things you just picked up and went on the way. Now it's posted on TikTok and YouTube and everything else where you make a mistake, it follows you around, it seems like forever, and it's hard to escape those things where in our age we didn't have those. So kids face more difficult times in trying to adjust than we were able to. So.
The other side too that I see is, I'm not sure if we talked about this or not, but with others, is that as the community as a whole don't really necessarily get together as much as we used to. And now schools are having to pick up to do the heavy lifting on a lot of what that social programming would be.
Absolutely.
To be able to take for families as a whole. So, I mean, when you have your, again, homecoming basketball games, you have your games, you're bringing the entire community in there. And, there's a lot of schools, they're taking that opportunity to put education in front of parents at that time in the community as well.
Yeah, so we look at most school communities and most communities in general. Your schools are your primary source of entertainment for many districts. So, and that COVID really affected that as well. And so now it's time to bring them back into the districts and try to create new norms and new normals and getting reintegration back in and bringing a stronger community support to the educational system. And so that's again what we're trying to do now in Pentwater. And here we're looking at going for another bond proposal coming up. Yep. We're more likely to look at a May proposal date. We're just in the starting stages again. We're going to rework from the previous two bond proposals. We hope we listened well to what our community had said, what they would support and what they wouldn't. And so we're just going to do what we need to.
So for those that don't know what was in the previous bond proposal, if you could just give an overview.
Sure. Well, initially in the very first proposal, we had a gymnasium, auditorium, single building, the shared facility, and we would like to get a track, a new track, a resurfaced track, because we never really had one, but we have a footprint of one. We have a strong track program, and we don't really have a track for our kids to run on. So that was in our first proposal, and that did not pass. And so the second proposal, we decided to, again, take those items out, the auditorium and gymnasium out of proposal and go for a facility upgrade and then try to get a track put in there again. And that failed also. So we're going to relook at that. We're going to have a new facility assessment done and find out what it is that we truly need to keep our doors open, to keep our buildings warm and safe, and provide that safe learning environment for our students. So that's what we're going to look at doing, hopefully this next coming proposal.
Yeah, and that feedback. So as far as how'd you get feedback from the community after the bond proposals didn't pass? Did you have like open house or what was it?
Our first two proposals, pretty difficult timing with COVID being in full swing and trying to gather and get community feedback. We had some community forums online, which was difficult for some people. In our community, we have an older community in there, so they're not a computer generation. So having FaceTime and Google Meets or Google Classrooms or some of that was just more difficult. So a lot of it is through feedback and surveys and just listening to what community people have to say. And we have done some community forums to try to get some feedback. And
that would be. And I had Melissa Furing on here previous a couple of weeks ago, and same thing, Jeff Mount, and all these and the same thing comes up with everybody who's in these leadership positions, administration, is that when we send out surveys and we ask for feedback, we truly need the public to provide that feedback so that we can be good stewards of their taxpayer dollars. And in this case, when you're sending out that information, if you send out any other surveys, let's just be the one request, please take it, you have administration individuals who are being professional and trying to do their best. all we ask is on the back end that we let, hey, help them out by giving them the feedback, the tough conversations. So
Absolutely.
we know, we're getting ready to wrap up here, and this has been absolutely great coming down here. Again, when I went down to meet you at Pentwater Schools, and we got a great photo in front of your gym floor is amazing. I love every bit of it.
Thank you.
And you can just tell the at Pentwater, the care, concern that you have with your staff and everything, it's apparent, and the grounds and the building, everything across the board there says this is a great welcoming place for the community. So, hats off to you for the great work.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
And it's not me, it's our community. So I just have the privilege of taking the leadership role in there, but all the other thanks go to the staff and teachers and hardworking staff that we have there. So
yeah. So again, that's about all the time we have for today. Again, thank you for coming out here and sharing your leadership journey. So attention business owners, are you tired of working in your business instead of working on your business? Are you making all the decisions, working harder even though you've hired more people? Are you frustrated with your business performance? I'm hosting a free business base camp on October 25th at Lakeshore Resource Network, where attendees will learn some of the core tools all of my companies use to build amazing businesses. To learn more about the business base camp or what I do to help organizations, visit summitbusinessguides.com, follow Summit Business Guides on Facebook, or send me a note at ryan@summitbusinessguides.com. So join me next week when I'll be talking with Monica Schuyler, the Executive Director for Pennies from Heaven, to learn more about her journey to become a West Michigan leader.
You've been listening to Leading West Michigan with Ryan Howe, a weekly program where you hear success stories of local officials and business leaders. Join us next week for more of Leading West Michigan right here on 102.7